Hi, how are we doing today? So today I wanted to film a new video on a brand new camera phone. I just got the iPhone 13 yesterday and I am adoring cinematic mode right now because make my videos look really nice. So today we're going to be talking about all of the books that I want to read in 2022. So I have a stack of 10 books. I narrowed it down to 10 books because I didn't want to overwhelm myself, and I also tried to film this earlier and it didn't work out. So we are going to do this instead. So remember, these aren't like the only 10 books that I want to read this year. Like, of course I want to read more. It's just that I wanted to let you guys know that there are some books that I really want to get to this year at some point, and they're all here in a wonderful little stack. So as you can see, I got 10 books and we're gonna get started. I will let you know that I've already read a book this year, so that's not going to be on the list because I already friggin' read it, so I'm not going to have it on there. But first book that I want to talk about is The Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This book I'm actually about halfway through right now. I'm filming a reading vlog with this one, and this is a reimagining of Dracula's Brides. I haven't read the original source material, like the original Dracula story, but I don't know if I want to read it this year or if I want to read it next year, because I kind of want to get a different edition of it because I want a nicer looking edition. Not that I don't like the edition that I have right now, it's just, you know, it is what it is. But this is a story about bloodlust romance. The writing is very lyrical. The whole premise of it is really interesting, and I love the way that it's being written so far. I actually am thoroughly enjoying it. I've tabbed the crap out of it and highlighted the crap out of it, and I'm really liking this, and I've been wanting to read it for a while, ever since, I forget who was talking about this book. Somebody was talking about it, and then I thought about it for a while, and then someone else talked about it, and then I ended up really thinking about it, and then I bought it a few days ago and now I'm reading it, so it is what it is. So yeah, this is on my TBR also as to be finished, because I will finish this in the next couple of days, which I'm really excited about. So there's that one. That would be the first book, which is so lovely, and I love it. I would strongly suggest it if you like classics, but you want something a little more modern in your collection. I think you'll really like this. So there's that one. The next book that I want to read is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one is a book that I was trying to get to last year, but I just didn't get to it. But this one's a contemporary historical fiction, I think, about a actress whose name is Evelyn Hugo. She's very famous, kind of like Marilyn Monroe-esque almost, and she is doing a tele interview with a reporter, and she, you know, just talks about her life, talks about her husbands, talks about fame and all that kind of stuff. I have heard nothing but wonderful things about this book. I've just heard that it's just really good. And I am just I'm pretty stoked for it, to be honest. I think it's going to be really good. So we have that one. And then another Taylor Jenkins Reid book that I want to read is going to be Daisy Jones and the Six. I have heard also really good things about this book. I've also heard that it's actually better to listen to it on audio, so that's probably what I'm going to do with this one. I'm definitely going to grab the audiobook on Scribd for that. But this book is about a band from the 70s, I think, called Daisy Jones and the Six, and it's done in interview style. So they said that if you listen as an audiobook, it kind of listens like a podcast. So I thought this would be really good to dive into at some point this year. Probably sooner rather than later, maybe as soon as next month I might be reading it, who knows, but I'm really excited for this one. I've heard nothing but wonderful things. I mean, some people have said it's kind of boring, but in all honesty, I don't believe them. So there's that. But we are getting to this year, whether it kills me or not. The next book is a book that I'm gonna read next. After I finish A Dowry of Blood, I need to read this one because I've been putting it off for so long, and now we're here, and we need to read Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. One, because there's a sequel coming out, and two, because I have heard nothing but wonderful things about this. So this book is kind of like a low kind of not mafia fantasy. I want to say mafia fantasy. That's a weird way of saying it, almost like a dark, not a dark academia either, but it's like a, well, it's a fantasy. It's fantasy. I'll just say it's fantasy, but it's about two twins named Roger and Dodger. One of them is really good at like artsy stuff, and then the other one's like very mathematically inclined, and you have them kind of going on this journey of godhood. So it's really important in their world to become what would equal to be a god. And I don't know much else about the plot, but I know that almost every person that I've seen review this has said it's really good, so that's on my TBR as well. And I just love I love the cover, by the way. I think the cover's actually like super cool, and I'm really excited. So we got that too. That's the next one. And then the other one is going to be a classic. I plan on reading more classics this year, but I don't want this video to be like 10,000 years long. And to be honest, this one is turning out to be much better than the one from the last time I filmed. But I also really want to read Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I don't typically go towards classics that are a little more recent, if that makes sense. And the reason that I don't, I think, is because of the writing style. I think it's just like, I don't know, it's very, very hit or miss for me. But I've heard some really good things about this, and I want to read it. So basically, this is a mystery thriller novel. It's also very gothic as well, but it's about a woman who marries a man, and she ends up moving into his house, like, you know, right after they get married, all that kind of stuff. And his ex-wife, whose name is Rebecca, is haunting the house, so that'll be really fun. And also this edition's really, really pretty too. I actually really like it. It's the 80th anniversary edition. There's nothing really special about the edges, but if you open up the cover, like the dust jacket here, it's really, really pretty. I really like it. And I've just heard that it's a wonderful story. It's very dark and very, like, I don't know, I've just heard it's really good. So I'm gonna read this and hopefully I enjoy it. So that is that one. And then the next book that I have, this one, I tried to start in, I think it was October. I tried to start in October, and then I just didn't end up finishing it at all. I actually ended up kind of putting it down. I don't want to say I'm DNFing it. It's just that I wasn't in the mood for it at the time, I think. And I think I just kind of read it just to read it. But I want to read it. Like, I actually truly do want to read it. And that is Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth. Now, this one I got about, I don't know, like 228 pages in. So, like, I got a decent chunk of the way through. Like, I got some tabs and stuff going on here. I'm just, I feel like the writing style just turned me off for like when I actually was reading it, because you can tell that this is written by an academic and academics tend to write very dryly and very densely. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just that it's really hard to get into sometimes. So I found that I was kind of just like pushing myself to finish it. But I do want to continue it. I do want to read it because the plot is actually very interesting. It's just that I don't think I was in the right headspace for it. So we're gonna try and read it when I actually have the mental capacity to actually do it. But this one is about, this is a dark academia, by the way. It's about so there was a murder that had happened in early 20th century at a school that I believe is called Brookhants School for Girls. So basically there's this book that is written by this author, and this group of college students get really, really obsessed with this book. Like, they're like, oh my god, this book is amazing, I love it, let's worship this book. So they would go out into the woods and they would like have like witchy seances and stuff like that. And one night they go out and they don't make it out alive. At least one of them does, like a murder mystery kind of thing. So I am so far like really enjoying it though. And then also it's it goes in between two different timelines. So you have from like when the murder or the actual like event happens to about 100 years later when they're doing a film about it. And then when they do the film, a bunch of other weird things pop up. More weird things come up. There's also like this little theme of like yellow jackets and hornets and stuff, which is also really interesting. And I think there's a lot of foreshadowing in here too, but I need to go through this, what I've annotated again, and just like read it so I remember what's going on, and then I'll probably continue this because I'm not giving up on it. It's just that like my brain wasn't ready for it or wasn't like in the right space for it. So we're gonna read this later though. And then the next book that I have is a horror novel. I don't typically read horror novels because I don't watch horror movies, and I'm just not like, I'm not that person, so but I really want to read this. This is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I have heard from people who don't read horror, or people who like aren't very versed in horror, sorry there's a noise, that they really enjoyed this book. So basically it's about this woman who lives in the South, and she is part of like this book club with a bunch of other of her mom friends, and they read like crime novels and stuff together. And what ends up happening is she ends up falling for this guy, could be a serial killer and he might also be a vampire, so that's really dope. And I've heard that it's wonderful. I heard it's a little disturbing though, but that's totally chill because, you know, I'm not really like, I'm okay with gore, I'm okay with blood. It's just that I don't want to like physically see it, if that makes sense. So this should be wonderful. I don't know when I'll read it, probably like later in the year, I'm guessing. But I've heard wonderful things about it, so there's this one. And then the next book that I want to read is a book that literally everybody is like, you have to read it, you must read it, and if you don't, you're a terrible person, which like I totally get, because like I don't want to be a terrible person. But I really want to read Oswald by Mona Awad as well. But this one is one big reference to Shakespeare's wonderful play called All's Well That Ends Well. And basically it's about a theater professor who lives with chronic pain, who wants to put a production on of Macbeth because like she's getting fired, and it's just like it's a whole thing. And her students are like, no. So she wants to put, sorry, I got this mixed up. She wants to put on a production of All's Well That Ends Well, but her students want to do Macbeth, which like I totally get because Macbeth is just so good. But they are, it's like this kind of like back and forth, and it's her kind of struggling to keep her sanity, and then she just like descends into madness, which is like fantastic, which I'm really excited about. I've heard it's weird, I heard it's a whole like trip, and I'm here for it. So we're gonna read this one, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it though. I truly believe that I will love this. So, and then the next book that I want to read is a book that was like very anticipated for me last year. I got it, but I didn't end up getting to it, but I kind of want to get to it this year. I don't know, I kind of want to, so here goes nothing. But I really want to read 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. This one is a COVID romance, so if it hits too close to home for you, I don't know, I wouldn't recommend buying this then, because it definitely has pandemic vibes apparently. But this one is about a couple who meet at a supermarket in Ireland because they live in Ireland. And this is like right before like the very first like big global lockdown that we had. They decide that they're gonna move in together, and then they find a dead body in the guy's house, and they're basically just trying to find out who killed this person in the middle of a pandemic, which is really dope. I don't know, I'm excited. We'll see how I feel. I've just heard that it also kind of goes back and forth in timelines too. This hardcover also is very stiff, so I think I'm gonna have to like crack it a little bit. I don't like cracking spines in hardcovers because things tend to like stay together. If a hardcover is like really stiff, I'm just not about it. So I'm just gonna like to not be so stiff. But yeah, we got this one. I'm actually really excited for it. So we're gonna read that one. And then the last book, last but not least, is actually a book kind of on impulse, but not really on impulse. But it is The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. And this one is a contemporary set in Cuba or Colombia, I think it is, Turkey. And it's like a historical fiction. I don't know too much about the plot, but what I do know is that there's a lot of like people working, like working class stuff. I think people also like work in restaurants or something. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's like a speculative like literary fiction, which I'm like totally chill with. Something that's like a little more slower, which I can definitely appreciate. I'm excited for this book. I think it'll be wonderful just to kind of like slow down a little bit with all the fast-paced stuff that I have here. So we're reading that too as well. Like I said, I don't know much about the plot, but it is what it is. That's all. That's kind of like the gist of what I want to read. Sorry, it's not everything, but I'll see you in the next video.